Good afternoon and welcome to the Midday News. Here's what we have in the bulletin. Teething pains as motorists rush to pay outstanding traffic tickets in St. Andrew. Health Minister says PAHO report needs more clarity. And later in sports, defending champions play feature match in JPL. Thank you for joining us. I'm Shamela Pullen. Here are the details. Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says the report from the Pan American Health Organization last week needs clarification. Dr. Tufton says aspects of the report are not practical given the challenges faced in the country's healthcare system. More in this report. Last week, the Pan American Health Organization, PAHO, in a detailed report, outlined poor conditions which existed at the Victoria Jubilee Hospital during last year's infection outbreak at the Special Care Nursery. The report also looked at special care nurseries at the Bustamante Hospital for Children and Spanish Town hospitals. But Health Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton says there are two areas of the report that needed to be explained at length. He says, first, the issue of staff ratio. He says the 1:8 as opposed to 1:1 or 1:2 is not practical given the shortage of healthcare workers.
If you have space for 5 and 10 youngsters are ill, you have to put the 10 of them in there. So when the incident unfolded and the examination took place and there was the observation, rightfully so, that there was a spacing issue, it should be accompanied too by the fact that what we need is bigger space. It's not that people deliberately and with a recognition of the risk created this risk by putting the cots close together because they don't have the space and you can't refuse anybody.
Dr. Tufton was quick to point out that this is not to criticize PAHO, but insists that the report needed more clarity. He said despite the challenges, healthcare workers always go the extra mile to ensure that the system works, even under pressure.
We have to train, and we're doing that, and retrain to get people to understand that the cleaning must be frequent, to understand that they must change the protective gear when they move from one baby to the next. But that is far easier to be done when it's one nurse to one child. You don't even have to change because it's the same baby you're dealing with. When you have to go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you have to change, if there's a case of quick movement requiring the nurse to move, sometimes those things get overlooked. And that's a dilemma that we face.
Meanwhile, Dr. Tufton says the health ministry will continue to work to minimize the problem to prevent situations like these from happening again.
You know, one death is one too many and we regret it. The global average does suggest that our team have done fairly well in minimizing death in these vulnerable situations. Our averages are not out of whack when compared with the world. But, you know, it's a work in progress, and I think that the fact that the report corroborates what we said, our team said, is a good sign because it means that we have good people. And so that has not been said to my mind sufficiently, and I'd love to outline that.
The government is this afternoon being blamed for the ongoing chaos at the traffic ticket system. The motorists who turned up at the Melbourne Traffic Ticket Court say they should not have to be forking out thousands of dollars to pay tickets, which they say have already been paid. Our reporter O'Shane Masters visited the traffic court and now joins me live in studio. O'Shane?
Thanks, Shamela. Well, it was chaotic from the traffic on the streets to the boiling morning sun. Motorists were adamant they didn't want the February 1 deadline to come without clearing their outstanding tickets. Now, as early as 4 o'clock, motorists turned up to the Melbourne Traffic Court, but some are still upset with the government. It's after 9 o'clock, and this is a line leading to the Melbourne Traffic Ticket Court. Motorists braving the boiling morning sun in St. Andrew, just 2 days before the new Road Traffic Act comes into effect. But like previous times, old issues keep appearing. Issues like tickets that have already been paid ending up on the Traffic Ticket Management System, TTMS. We spoke with one motorist who described his experience as enduring pain and suffering.
The government know that the system had a flaw in it, and the government should be the one to accept all of this problem that we are facing with. Wipe the thing clean. 2 tickets already been paid, which are here. 1 paid to the tax office. Tax office, when I went there, said they don't have it and them file paid. This one was withdrawn in the traffic court right down here, so see the numbers there coming back out. The third one that comes back out is from 2021.
For that ticket, he says his license plate was removed and he went through the requisite procedures, and yet still, it's back on his printout to be cleared. He says the matter was brought to the Transport Minister or the Shaw, but the response given was not favorable.
And he's telling me I should have saved my receipt. And I said, no, the owner is supposed to be on the government to prove me not guilty. I know me if you come and prove it to myself to the government to say me not guilty. And you and your agent take me to court.
And that was a similar issue with a number of other motorists who we spoke with at the court. But what is central among the traffic offenders is that an extension is needed.
The minister them should have do a better payment plan. There's no way you can end up. Enough people there have to get a date. Enough people are wait for a phone call to pay. It's total confusion. I can't believe Andrew all this administration really do this to the Jamaican people where him say him love. It have to extend because there's no way the first everything are intact. It's joke. People are willing to pay, still a got a problem. So what you think? You don't love the people of the country.
The motorists are appealing to the government for fair treatment.
You put in new rules and new laws for motorists and for murderers and all these things. And the people who really do the crime, those who are embezzling the money, there's no rules and regs for them. Those are the people we need to start going to prison.
But once inside...
Yeah man, it's quick and fast, so there's a wait for a court date, you know. So go secondly thing that's okay and free on the street, though.
Over at the South Camp Road Traffic Court, things were smoother. No long lines, but persons nonetheless brought their seats in expectation of spending the full day at the courts. O'Shane Masters, TVJ News.
Residents of Golden Grove and its environs in St. Thomas are again calling for the erection of a fire station in the area. They claim that with the emergency responders not in close proximity to their community, lives and properties are at risk. Sandy Williams reports.
In 2014, Councillor for the Dalvey Division Michael McLeod made an appeal for a fire station to be built in Golden Grove, St. Thomas. 8 years later, and his plea seemed to have fallen on deaf ears. This plot of land in Golden Grove was slated for the construction of a post office. However, in 2019, then Member of Parliament for Eastern St. Thomas, Dr. Fenton Ferguson, said the land would be more fitting for a fire station.
While the post office remains a priority, I believe that the fire station has also escalated in relation to the need for it. It is my view as Member of Parliament that the proposed site for the post office would be ideal in relation to the fire station.
Fast forward to 2023, no work has started to build neither a post office nor a fire station, and business operators and residents are concerned. As it stands now, Golden Grove and surrounding communities depend on the fire station in Morants Bay in cases of emergency.
The road is too bad for Morants Bay to come up here. But if you come up here, the whole place burn down.
I've seen where the fire truck has been called, and by the time they reach, it's disastrous. So that could happen to me. So naturally, I'd be concerned. 95% of the time, by the time they call the truck and it reaches, you find that the fire totally destroy, properties or residents. So not having a fire station is totally ridiculous.
We need it now. We need because last week, fire, the fire truck come up here. Fire was up. Round at the cane piece, I have to call it. And them have to come to come right around to the scheme. If we leave this one, come at the scheme, if you come stop it round here. Yes, we really need one, you know, man.
Sandy Williams, TVJ News.
As part of efforts to tackle crime and violence in Jamaica, an initiative has started to provide psychological support to persons who have been affected. On Friday, some 20 persons in St. James completed training as part of responders to assist vulnerable communities. More in this report. St. James is known to be among the parishes with the highest crime rates. President of the Western Medical Association, Dr. Sheridine Lee, says for the past few years, she has been seeing a number of teenagers in the parish coming in with traumatic injuries daily.
The parents come and they think, okay, they're just having breathing problems or they're having headaches every day. But when you delve into it, it's actually something that's affecting them, you know, psychologically. And the parents most times are not able to pick up on that. Sometimes they're, you know, saying that the child is rude. Sometimes they're acting out at school. But they don't have the skill set for them to understand that there is something actually happening to my child psychologically.
National Security Minister Dr. Horace Strang says the situation is very bad in the parish, as he too is seeing firsthand the effects crime and violence is having on some of these young people.
When I walk through Glendevon and go on Dallas Road, I could tell any of my friends who walk with me, it is easier to point out the house where nobody was shot than to tell them where somebody was shot, because every single house had a trauma, whether by police shooting or by inter-gang conflict. Every house, and there were some bright kids. There was a young doctor who is currently in Montego Bay. He lived very humble family. But when I passed his house, every single house beside him, a student from Cornwall or Harold Mars was shot at some point in time.
Which is why the European Union decided to sponsor an initiative to give psychological support to these victims.
This training marks a first important practical and operational step to start strengthening the attention to victims of trauma in St. James, where these services have been detected to be particularly scarce. With this in mind, I would like to acknowledge the trainees, and above all, I would like to conclude addressing directly the trainees that have successfully concluded the training and have accepted the challenge to be the first responders.
And it will not stop there, as the Executive Director of the Citizen Security Secretariat, Dan McIntosh, says this will be an island-wide initiative targeting specific areas where crime and violence is rampant.
We're going to do this across, especially the Zozos. Yesterday we were in Savlamar and we were sitting down with our team, sharing the data, and we're making plans to roll out another set of training for the caregivers, for the first responders in Savlamar as well as in Kingston. And I want to encourage you to multiply the knowledge embedded through this work, through your daily work, and to keep it going.
20-year-old Roger Pennant, otherwise called Ricey, of a St. Anne address, was shot and killed in Cedar Grove, Bethel Town in Westmoreland on Saturday. According to reports, at about 9 p.m., Mr. Pennant was at her friend's house when he was attacked by armed men who opened gunfire, hitting him several times. The police were called. He was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Up to January 2022, the parish recorded 5 murders. This is 7 fewer than the corresponding period last year. In the meantime, up to January 2022, 61 murders have been committed across the country. The St. Andrew North, St. James, and Clarendon police divisions have recorded the most, with 7 each. And for news in the world of business, here's Codian Barrett with a Business Minute.
Palace Amusement investors have agreed to a stock split. The decision was passed at the company's annual general meeting last week. This will see Palace's ordinary shares subdivided into 600 additional shares. The decision will come into effect from the close of business on February 28. Shareholders also agreed to increase the company's authorized share capital. The total number of issued Palace stocks will move from 1.44 million ordinary shares to 862.22 million ordinary shares. And on to investments internationally. The Adani Group has accused a U.S. investment firm of launching a calculated attack on India by publishing a report alleging widespread fraud at the ports-to-power conglomerate. Billionaire Gautam Adani's business was accused of brazen stock manipulation and accounting fraud schemes over the course of decades. Since the release of the report, Adani's business empire has lost more than $70 billion of its stock market value. According to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, the infrastructure tycoon's net worth has also plummeted by some $30 billion. That's it for the Business Minute. I'm Cody Ann Barrett.
And now for the top regional and international stories.
In regional news, in the British Virgin Islands, the government is planning to crack down and implement restrictions to the smoking of tobacco products. This follows reports from BVI's Premier, Dr. Natalio Wheatley, that the government has made headway with the United Kingdom in developing a medical marijuana industry for the territory. But according to the Premier, the territory may not need to rely on the cannabis licensing to get things started, as the act has been wrapped up in the UK regulations for almost 3 years. On the international scene, more than 30 people were killed and 120 others injured in an explosion inside a mosque in Pakistan on Monday. The mosque is situated inside the police lines of the city and is mostly attended by law enforcement officials. Pakistan Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif has condemned the attack and says the entire nation and institutions are united to end terrorism. Rescue operations are still underway inside the mosque. And those were the top regional and international stories. I'm Sandy Williams.
Thank you, Sandy. We head to a quick break. When we come back, we'll have your midday sports report with Jordan Fort.